My girlfriend's yoga retreat didn't add up, so I drove there without her knowing. I used to believe that trust was everything in a relationship. I was never the jealous type. I didn't check her phone, didn't ask too many questions, and always gave her the benefit of the doubt, because if you don't have trust, what do you really have? But sometimes, your gut starts screaming at you. And the longer you ignore it, the louder it gets. My girlfriend Amelia and I had been dating for a little over 2 years. We weren't perfect, but we worked. I'm quiet by nature. I listen more than I speak. Amelia was always the life of the party. She had this spark in her, like the world wasn't something to survive, but something to dance through, and I loved that about her. Until the dancing started happening without me. She told me she was going on a yoga retreat for the weekend, girls only, somewhere in the woods, with no cell service, just detox and meditation. At first, I smiled and nodded. She did stuff like this before, but this time it felt off. The way she packed, the new bikini she slipped into her bag, the way she avoided eye contact when I asked where exactly they were going. I didn't confront her. I just waited. About 3 hours after she left, I checked her location. She'd forgotten I still had access to her. Find my iPhone. I wasn't even planning to look, but something in me, that twisting, quiet voice, told me I needed to. She wasn't in the woods. She was near the coast. A beach resort. With a rooftop bar and couples packages. I stared at the pin on the map for a while, convincing myself it must be a mistake. Maybe they booked a resort near the woods? Maybe her phone was just glitching. But when I looked up the location, it wasn't just some basic lodge. It was a beachside luxury resort known for its romantic getaways. And just like that, everything shifted. My heart started pounding, but not with rage. With disbelief. I still didn't want to accuse her of anything. I told myself I just needed to see it for myself. So I packed a small bag, got in my car, and started driving. The entire ride, I played every conversation in my head on repeat. How she said the weekend would be healing, how she wouldn't have service, how she didn't want to be distracted. All of it started to sound like carefully rehearsed lines. Like she knew what she was doing and had practiced every answer before she left. When I arrived near the resort, I didn't go in right away. I parked down the street and waited. Watched. It didn't take long. Around sunset, I saw her. She was walking out of the lobby wearing a sundress I'd never seen before, laughing with a man I'd never met. Not a group of girls. Not yoga mats or wellness robes. Just the two of them, arm in arm, heading toward the beach path like it was their honeymoon. My stomach dropped. It felt like being punched in slow motion. Every part of me wanted to rush out, scream, confront. But I didn't. I just stayed in the car, gripping the steering wheel, watching the woman I loved press her body against someone else, while the ocean shimmered behind them like a cruel joke. I pulled out my phone, took a few photos, and then put it down. Not for proof, not for revenge. Just to remind myself later that it was real, that I wasn't going crazy, and that the version of her I trusted didn't exist anymore. They stayed on the beach for over an hour. At one point they sat down under a gazebo. She leaned into him. He kissed her. And that's when the last thread snapped inside me. Not from anger, from clarity. I realized that everything I'd built with her, every moment, every plan, it was built on sand. And the tide had just come in. I drove away in silence, didn't even stop at a gas station. Just kept driving with the windows down, hoping the wind would blow away the part of me that still loved her. When I got home that night, everything looked the same. Her jacket still hanging by the door. Her coffee mug from the morning still on the counter. Max, our golden retriever, wagging his tail like the world hadn't just ended. I sat on the couch in the dark for what felt like hours. Not crying, not raging, just processing. I kept waiting for it to feel less real, for it to hit me like a dream I'd eventually wake up from. But the silence in that house was louder than anything I'd ever heard. I didn't text her, didn't call. I didn't want to give her a warning or a chance to lie again. I just needed time to decide what I was going to do with the truth. The next morning I started packing her things, not in a rage, not aggressively, just methodically, like someone doing inventory after a storm. Drawer by drawer. I put her clothes into boxes, her books into bags, all her toiletries into a separate container. I didn't throw anything. I didn't break anything. I didn't even check her phone or social media. I didn't need to. The image of her holding that man's hand on the beach was burned into my mind with absolute clarity. You don't unsee something like that. And once you see it, you realize how blind you've been for so long. How much you missed. How much you willingly ignored because you wanted to believe love was enough. She came back Sunday night exactly when she said she would. I watched her from the window as she pulled into the driveway, humming along to music like nothing had happened. She walked through the front door smiling, said, "Hey babe, I missed you." I didn't smile back. I didn't even move. I just looked at her and said one word. "Why?" Her face shifted. Her smile dropped instantly, replaced by confusion, then defensiveness. "What do you mean?" she asked, already fidgeting with her bag. I told her where she really was. I told her what I saw. She froze. For the first time in our entire relationship, she was speechless. She tried to deny it at first. Said I was being paranoid. Said the man was just a local instructor she met during a group yoga session. But when I pulled out my phone and showed her the pictures, her voice cracked. Then came the tears. The shaking hands. The desperate apologies. She told me she didn't know why she did it. That it was a moment of weakness. That she never meant to hurt me. That she loved me. That it was meaningless. But I didn't care. Because love isn't supposed to feel like this. It's not supposed to make you question your own reality. And if it does, it's not love. It's manipulation dressed in romance. I handed her the boxes. Told her she could stay with a friend. Told her I'd be filing for a formal separation. She begged, pleaded, got on her knees. Said she'd change. But I didn't budge. Because the person I was in that moment, the one who watched his girlfriend kiss another man from a distance, quietly absorbing every ounce of betrayal, that person didn't need explanations. He needed peace. She moved out the next day. No dramatic scenes, no screaming matches. Just a quiet, hollow sort of ending. I stayed in the bedroom while she packed, not because I didn't care, but because I didn't want to watch her turn into a stranger right in front of me. Every item she touched, every shirt, every photo, every necklace she once said meant something. It all felt like props in a story that was no longer real. Max kept whining by the door, confused. I kept petting him, whispering that it was going to be okay, even though I wasn't sure if I believed it myself. For a few weeks after, the house felt like a crime scene. I'd walk past places where we used to laugh and suddenly feel sick. The kitchen where we danced while cooking dinner. The couch where we binged shows and made plans for vacations. The bed where she used to hold my hand before falling asleep. All of it stained by memory. But slowly, the silence began to heal. I started waking up without checking my phone for lies. Started eating without feeling knots in my stomach. I got back into my routines, running, working late, reading more. I even started writing again, something I hadn't done in years. It wasn't easy, but it was clean. One evening, about a month after everything ended, she texted me. Just one line, "I miss you." I stared at it for a long time. There was a time when a message like that would have broken me, would have made me question everything and reopen the door I'd closed. But not this time. I didn't respond. Not out of spite, but out of growth. Because missing someone who betrayed you is like missing a fire that burned your house down. You remember the warmth, but you forget the scars. I wasn't going to let that happen again. Sometimes, I still think about the version of her I thought I knew. The one who laughed with me on rainy days. Who cried during movies. Who made pancakes on Sundays and left notes in my lunch. That version didn't exist. Or maybe she did, but only for a while. And that's the hardest part, realizing that someone can love you and still lie to you. That someone can hold your hand and still walk away. But I've learned that peace doesn't come from answers. It comes from choosing yourself when everything else tries to pull you apart. To anyone going through something similar, trust your gut. The signs are never as subtle as they seem. And no matter how painful the truth is, it's always better than the comfort of a beautiful lie. Because the moment you choose silence over self-betrayal, that's when you finally start healing.